Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard it from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
Heard the rest. Now here's the best Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here again with our weekly hot takes or opinions of stories that have happened this past week or so in sports. One story we're actually going to kind of retouch on from last week, which was the sticky balls of Major League Baseball. Plus a little update on the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series racing season. We were at Talladega last week, and quite a interesting race, to say the least. I have a UFC fight this coming weekend, plus something else that happened last weekend in boxing. So like usual, before we get into the show, head over to staytunesports.net so that we can follow all of our social media accounts, which is on the right hand side there: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff. Merch tabs up top there for any merchandise that you may want. And you know what, if you don't want to buy merch, that's fine, but head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/ST Sports if you want to help support the show. If you want to donate $1 or donate $20 or $500, but you're actually going to be buying me a quote beer. So it's sports instead of being coffee. I mean, who drinks coffee during sporting events? I mean, I drink beer while I'm eating my wings. So jumping into it. Like I said, the boys were at Talladega last week. Once again, my 3 racers to watch, I gave the kiss of death. I believe only one of them made it out alive. Was involved in some wrecks, but was able to finish. This week, I kind of took a little bit different approach of looking at how I want to pick them. So hopefully I could break the streak here in a couple seconds or a couple minutes, whatever you want to say, when I start to preview about Richmond, which is this Friday. Talladega, Jordan Scheffler won the pole to start the race, and he actually took the butt kicker challenge. I believe he's the third one to do it now. I think it was James Lorillo was the first one. I kind of want to say Mitchell Adams. Colin O'Leary was the other one, I believe, the week before. And Jordan this week, last weekend. So far, no one has beaten it, but Jordan was the closest to do it because he got up to third place until lap 30 and was part of the big one. Pretty much ended his night. I mean, he was a really strong racer all the way up. I mean, obviously, if he made up to third place, he had to be doing some good moves because there was a lot of cautions. By the end of the race, I think there was only maybe 10 or 12 cars that were on the lead lap. A lot of the wrecks were pretty big. A couple of cars were involved in a couple of them, which pretty much ends your night, eventually. There's only so much damage your car could take. Our STS truck driver, James Lorillo, he was copping a couple of them. He was having a decent race. He was up there, but like I said, Unfortunately, got caught up in a couple of them. I'll talk a little bit more about James in a second here. But Chris Darling, another one, had a decent truck and then just got wiped out. Actually got hit so hard he shot back up to the moon. I mean, it was one of those glitch type crashes, and this is like 2 or 3 races in a row. Chris is having a tough time here. Hopefully he could break out of it this week. Like I say, he's always a very good competitor. He's always up there, just that past couple weeks, just wrong place, wrong time with some of these wrecks. Stan Hausman is the one that won it. It was his first ever win in the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series season. And like I said, this Friday over on YouTube at 3YTV, we're going to Richmond for the Beer Street Journal 200. From what I'm gathering, especially from the post-race interviews, sounds like this is one of Chris Darling's favorite tracks, so quite possibly may be able to break out of his bad luck from the past couple weeks, but we'll have to wait and see. As far as this past week too, during the race, I actually did a giveaway for people that were in the chat. As you guys know, from listening to the past few episodes since the season started, actually, I always tell you guys, come and join the chat. You never know what's going to happen. We're all a bunch of good people. We like to joke around, and we're trying to get Andrew's mom to drive Andrew's iRace car. Just gotta try to convince him a little bit better. He's not up for it just yet, but I have a feeling he's gonna allow it at some point. But I did a giveaway. Basically, I based it off of whoever I felt was the most active in the chat room. I gave a digital copy of Nobody with Bob Odenkirk, or Vanquish, which has Morgan Freeman and Ruby Rose in it. It's your choice which one you want it. And so I gave away one of them, and I didn't give it away in the very beginning because obviously I want you guys to stick around, because these guys really race hard, are very entertaining. Even though there was only 10 or 12 cars on the lead lap, even the final lap was pretty entertaining in itself. So when the race starts, I'll give a lap number of when I'm gonna make the call of who wins the giveaway. So make sure you guys tune in this Friday to watch the Beer Street Journal 200 over on YouTube, and make sure you guys subscribe to 3YTV and have a chance at winning one of those movies. So here are my picks also, before we move on to the next segment, for my 3 racers to watch. First one, he actually moved up a spot, and he's up into 3rd place now in points. JT Poole. He's 47 points behind Mitchell Adams, and out of his last 5 races has had 3 decent finishes, like pretty much, I think it was like top 10 or somewhere around there. And even last week he finished 12th, but he still ran up there with the front of the pack towards the end there when they were lapping him. It just, once again, he was one of those racers that got caught up in one of the big crashes. I forget which one it was, but he's definitely one. Seems like he's starting to come on a little bit here, with us pretty close to the midway point of the season for the truck series. My next pick is Ben Adams. I think I picked him last week too. Decent truck again last week. This time, the reason why I'm picking him is his last 3 starts, all top 10 finishes. And if he gets a win, he's locked in a chase. He still doesn't have that win yet. So I think he's real close to pulling off a win. Maybe this weekend will happen for him. Now, just a little bit ago, I alluded to about us talking a little bit about James Lorello. He's actually going to be my 3rd pick here. has had a slow start to the season. I think he's 13th or 14th in points. But, if you get a couple of good finishes in a row here, it doesn't take much to really get up there. So definitely looking to start getting the momentum going heading into the second half of this season. So we talked a little bit last week about the whole baseball trying to eliminate illegal substances for the pitchers to be using to help with the spin of the ball and all that type of stuff. And last week, the article I read said the memo was going to be going out this past Tuesday, and outlining everything that's going to be done, the procedures and all that stuff, as well as penalties, which is a 10-game suspension without pay. Now, let's not forget too, I keep seeing this, the one pitcher brought up, I forget which pitcher it was, but said, you're going to hand out a 10-game suspension to pitchers for using a legal substance, but yet you didn't punish any Astro players. Listen, first off, there's always cheating. Listen, if you're not cheating, you're not winning. If you're not trying to cheat, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but there's cheating in every sport. Okay, so let's get over the whole Astros not being punished. I mean, that happened a couple years ago. Let's get over it, okay? But as far as this whole baseball thing now with the 10-game suspension without pay, now it comes out this week that if you are caught with any type of legal substance on your fingers, hat, wherever, you will be suspended 10 games with pay. Okay? With pay. It just makes no sense whatsoever. I'll touch on that in a second. All this, even though this rule that they're quote coming back out with is already in the rule book, it's just that it hasn't really been enforced. The memo is going to say basically, listen, you guys have till June 21st to get this in order. That's when the suspensions are going to be start handing out. Umpires are going to be start checking more vigorously. The players, the pitchers, whatnot. And as I said last week, I think this is only going to slow the game down now. Especially when you definitely have some umpires out there that are controversial. So they're going to try to be that guy to be like, hey, I caught the first guy, legally doing it. And it goes back to what I said, I believe last week. Listen, if I'm dropping $500 for me and my boys to go see the Orioles play, let them take steroids, let them use all the illegal substance they want to do. I want to be entertained. I don't want to umpire to stop the game because he has to go out and check, make sure, there's no sunblock and resin mixed together. And then, on top of that too, so MLB is saying cannot use that no more, but this coming off season, they're going to put some money together to look and see if they can find an alternate thing that they could use. But why? I mean, whether it's sunblock and resin or pine tar or just mud, it's still a legal substance that's affecting the baseball, whether it's the RPMs of the spin or the curve of the ball. It's still affecting it. That's no different than batters taking steroids, or a steroid that isn't putting your testosterone over the limits. It's still helping you out. Now, a couple of guys in the Truck Series were talking amongst themselves about how they think this is a ploy with MLB to start throwing all this shit at the Players Association and the Players Union, so that when it's time to negotiate the collective bargaining agreement, they have something to swing the revenue back to the owners. As long as they can make the players look like they're the cheaters. I mean, I agree with that in a sense, but also this is making baseball look like they're morons. You know, I mean, they're already doing a hell of a job on their own, but they don't need to make the players look bad as well. They're doing it on their own as well, you know, with the Astros cheating, all this now. And, you know, I never thought the day would come that I would say that there'd be a worse commissioner than Roger Goodell. But I think we're there. I think Manfred is worse than Goodell. Because how can you suspend a player with pay and think that's gonna help? Is a pitcher gonna learn his lesson? I mean, if that was me, I would be like, no. I mean, I'm getting paid. I'm sitting at home on the couch eating Cheetos. You start hitting them in the pocket, just like if it was the owners. Start hitting them in the pocket, they're gonna learn. But instead, you want to give a 10-game suspension with pay. It makes no sense. And this all falls on Manfred. I mean, like I said, I never thought I would see the day that I would see a commissioner worse than Roger Goodell with the whole power hunger thing. You know, how Goodell just suspends this guy because he doesn't like him or whatever his reason is, but another guy could do the exact same thing and just get a little fine. This is what is going to kill baseball. And I was actually thinking about today, I wish the players would just be like, you know what, we're done. And just go start their own league. Start a new league. But we know that's not going to happen. Baseball will never die. It'll just kind of slowly just dwindle down to 500 fans in a Little League field. So, like I said at the top of the show, we have a UFC card this weekend, but also some boxing news that I'm going to touch on. And this segment is our Combat Corner, which is sponsored by BetAngles, live scores, odds, and the best expert picks every day. Start winning today at betangles.com. So last weekend there was some boxing matches. I don't think there was anybody really like a Floyd Mayweather type deal, but you know, big enough that this kind of made the news. So there was a fight between Jeremias Ponce versus Lewis Ritson, and Ritson was getting his ass kicked, okay? Just quite honestly. And in the 10th round, Ritson's corner threw the towel in because he was just taking so much damage to the body, mostly to the body, but there were some shots to the head that Ponce was putting on him. And the towel flew right in front of referee Steve Gray. And normally, you know, as you guys know, when any corner, whether it's MMA, boxing, whichever, throws a towel in, 99% of the time the ref's going to stop it. Well, this ref didn't. And he actually even picked up the towel and tossed the towel outside the ring and let the fight continue. And to make matters even worse, Ritson actually got dropped, stood up before the 10 count. So you would think, okay, you know, towel just came in, ref threw the towel out, Ritson got dropped, all within 2 minutes of everything, and you would think the ref would stop the fight. No, he said continue fighting. So sure enough, Ponce landed some more and eventually knocked him down a third time in the round. Finally the ref said, okay, enough's enough. and called the fight. At the time of me watching the video, like, I couldn't find anything of why the ref let it go. Like, he didn't give no explanation at the news conferences or press conference. But then a video came out of referee Steve Gray going back to Ritson's locker room after the fight to explain to the cornerman why he allowed it to go. Now, what he said was they were mostly body shots, and he felt from his perspective it wasn't hurting Ritson. He goes, the corner said, you know, some of there were some headshots. What about them? And he said, well, there were, but he was still there. You know, like, he wasn't out on his feet, which some people questioned it. Some people said he was. I watched it. I didn't really see him out on his feet, but he was taking damage. You could see he was broken, as they call it. But the thing is, and Eddie Hearn, I know a lot of people don't like him. I actually agree with him here. He said when a towel gets thrown into the ring, it's fully up to the ref if he wants to stop it or not. Just because a towel comes in the ring doesn't mean it has to be stopped. Like I said, 99% of the time, it does get stopped. He went on also to say that he feels referees should not have that decision, the chance to make that decision of should a fighter keep going on even though a towel gets thrown in. Because if you guys think about it, who knows that fighter the best? Their corner. They know their weaknesses, they know the game plan, they know all that stuff. How did the ref not know if Ritson had some broken ribs going into the fight? How many times have we seen fighters not disclose injuries going into a fight? You know, if he had some broken ribs going into this fight and Ponce is landing body shots, he could have started some internal bleeding, or, you know, any type of internal damage. So I agree with Eddie Hearn here that the refs should not be the one to make the final call if a fight should go on or not. And there should be a rule that if a towel gets thrown in, fight's called off, fight's stopped. To me, it would be no different than a fan throwing a beer bottle in. What are they going to keep fighting? No, they got to stop the fight, figure out what's going on. Now, obviously, if a corner throws it in, then they know what's going on. They know that they're trying to save their fighter, live another day. But I was just so surprised. Like, it's one thing to see the towel get thrown in. All right, maybe you didn't see it, but he picked it up and threw it back out of the ring. Now, hearing his explanation in that video, I don't think any repercussions is going to happen to this ref. At the beginning, before I saw the video, I felt like there had to be something done, like some type of fine or suspension, or, I mean, I wouldn't say revoke his referee license, but something. But seeing his reasoning behind it all, I mean, nothing makes it better that, you know, he let the fight go on when this guy was broken. He was done. But I don't think anything should happen to this ref. So, like I said, UFC Fight Night this weekend. Main eventing is Chan Sung Jung versus Dan Ige. And I'll go through the card here in a second. But it's kind of surprising to see the Korean Zombie still on just, you know, TV cards. You don't really see him on pay-per-views that much anymore. But so the co-main event for the fight is a heavyweight fight between Alexei Olenek versus Sergey Spivak. A featherweight fight between Julian Rosa versus Sung Woo Choi. Bantamweight fight with Marlon Vera versus Davey Grant. Middleweight fight, Wellington Turman versus Bruno Silva. And then kicking it off is old man Matt Brown versus Diego Lima. Starting off with that fight there. As much as I like Matt Brown and want to see him win, it's way past his time. Like I would even say it's way past. He's so far past even like probably Cowboys time. So obviously I'm going with Lima here. Lima is 3-5 in his last 5 fights against decent competition. I mean, it's not, title contender competition, but it's not Joe Schmoes. Brown has only beaten older over the hill guys. And I looked at his last 10 fights, he's 3-7. I don't know how he's still in UFC. I mean, he always comes to scrap, so it's not like he's running and hiding. But you never know, it's UFC, so Matt Brown may pull out one of those nasty elbows that he threw against, what was it, Damian Mee or Diego Sanchez, that's who it was. Thought Diego was dead there. Then in the middleweight fight, Wellington Turman versus Bruno Silva. Silva is making his UFC debut. Turman is 1-2 in UFC so far. Going with Silva because I looked at his past fights. Even though they weren't against UFC competition, he has like 5 or 6 straight wins. So he's got the momentum going. And going up against a guy who, not to knock him, isn't that great. It's a good fight to get your feet wet in the UFC. So I'm going with Bruno Silva there. Then we have Marlon Vera versus Davey Grant. Marlon lost his last fight to Jose Aldo, which, is not a bad person to lose to. It's not like he lost to a 1-2, fighter. He's 3-2, and he's looking to get back in the win column. So that's why I'm picking Vera here. One of his notable wins, which happened before the Aldo fight, was him. Forgot to turn my timer off. Against Sean O'Malley with the leg kicks. So I expect a little bit more of that. I mean, he has nasty leg kicks. So I think he pulls out the win there. Julian Erosa versus Sungwoo Choi. This could be a close fight. Both fighters have 2 fights, two fight win streak. Obviously, they're looking to make it a third. I'm going with Erosa here. It's just this was like a flip of the coin for me, just because again this could be a really good fight. So that fight I'm really curious to see. Then the co-main event, Alexei Olenek versus Sergey Spivak. I like Olenek. I like that move he does to tap out fighters. I forget what they called it. But I'm going Spivak here. He's younger, has a 2-fight win streak going on. Olenek lost his last 2, so this may be it for him. If he loses this one, UFC may cut him. Because let's be honest, if they cut some of the bigger names, like Alistair Overeem, how is Olenek still sticking around? Unless it's a low salary that they got him on. So I'm going Spivak there. And as far as the main event, Chen Sung Jung versus Dan Ige. The Korean Zombie's last 3 wins were against older fighters. Ige is a little bit younger. Plus, Ige is 4-1 in his last 5 and has beaten better competition. So that's why I'm going with Ige. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park from by any means. This could be a very good fight. But I think he pulls out the win and kind of sets back the Korean Zombie. So that is our Combat Corner for this week, which is sponsored by Bet Angles. Live scores, odds, and the best expert picks every day. Start winning today at betangles.com. So I think that's going to be it for us this week. Before we go, like I said, head over to staytunesports.net for all of our social media accounts on the right-hand side there, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure you share all of them out to your friends and family, all that. Our merch tab is up top there. If you don't want to support us there, that's fine. I have no issues with that. But head over to www.buymeacoffee.com, STS Sports, and you could help support that way. I'll even take a penny. I don't care. I'm not a beggar here, Well, I guess I kind of am if I'm telling you guys this. And make sure you guys tune in this Friday to the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series over on YouTube at 3YTV. Make sure you're active in the chat there, and you might win a digital copy of Nobody or Vanquish. So till next week, it's your good friend Jimbo, signing out.